just sent me a screenshot, which is helpful so I can know what he's working with. And I just wanted to give some of my thoughts. Didn't want to spend time, trying to comment and try to let him know, my thoughts and suggestions through a text. I'd rather just make a video, which would be helpful for him and for anyone else who's, playing Hatchhyack. He's currently still in the process of messaging me. Alright, so first thing for me, I do have Mass saying Brainwash No More. I like the card, but my train of thought of why I don't even use it, even though I have a place and I don't use it, is because you don't want to take a life. You don't want to take a life. Because if you okay with taking a life, you're better off playing, your Spark and Negate, like your Power Burst, which you can see in the image. If you want more free negate, where you take a life, which I prefer you don't take a life. Okay, got a new employee. You don't want to take a life. Now let me pause for a second. So like I was saying, from what I say, you don't want to take life. The whole goal of why you're even playing a Hatchhyack in the first place is actually not to take damage. So you want to reduce the cards you play in the deck where you have to take damage. Because here's the thing: if you should never allow your opponent to get to the combo phase. This person did mention to me about he has issues with Android 16, which ironically I did play this weekend at the event at my local. So for me it's not an issue, but playing against it, we know that there's a lot of battle tricks, especially when the leader's on the Awakened side. It can freely combo 10k from the drop. He kept using Android 18 Bionic Blitz. At first he tried to get the effect, but I pointed out that he has a combo from the hand in order to get the effect, because it would be so busted if he got the effect comboing from the drop. So good thing he didn't have that as an advantage. But essentially turning your leader into a 25k leader, obviously is very beneficial defensively. So that I can understand would be an issue if they use that offensively and defensively, and they can arrival from their energy as well as from their hand. So that's stuff you gotta worry about. But I'm trying to see if I can remember. I think I played against an Android 16 deck once with my Hatchhyack deck. So from what I can recall, ultimately what I did was I stowed, because if I'm right, they have a blocker, and I stole the blocker and I used it to defend myself. But there is the 7-drop Android 16 that they could play. They could play Android 21. What's her name? Bad Omen. Again, that burns, so, or at least it takes a life. So that's why you don't want to lose life. So for me personally, the Mass Sane, will be not a good idea. It's a cute battle trick, but the thing is, you don't want them to get to that point. You don't want them to get to your life. And if you're going to pay in energy, you rather pay in energy for negate, right? Or if you're going to take a life, you want to play a free negate. So you rather go that route. The whole idea is to never let them get into combat, right, into battle phase, because that allows them to do stuff like arrival plays, right? They can't combo. You mainly don't want them to get to combat on their turn, because they could try to utilize it. You have no problem if they go to combo phase, obviously, on your turn, because you're going offensive and they are just comboing defensively, obviously, right? But you never want to be in a situation where you're in combo phase on your opponent's turn. So prevent them from going there. Because if you're in combo phase, you should just be taking the hit anyway, right? If you're allowing them to get to the point where they can combo, your goal is to take a hit. So it makes no sense to try to play something that's trying to reduce the damage when you should have stopped the attack in the first place. Single damage, single attacks, you have no problem taking. You could possibly out combo single attacks like leader swings, unison swings, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like big 30k plus, battle cards with like double strike, quadruple strike, or something like that, that's stuff you want to negate. So your opponent should never be in a position where they have a double strike swinging at your leader and you didn't stop the attack. You gotta stop the attack, right? I see that there's max power Kamehameha here. Good card, obviously, because it not only negates an attack, it has the potential to get rid of a threat on the following turn. More likely, whatever attack you negated is the card you want to get rid of, so this can come in handy in that regards. But ideally, for me, I'd rather steal the threat. If something was worthy of being negated, then it's worthy of stealing, right? So I'd rather you play the 4-drop, not 4-drop, but well, I mean, you'll play it for 4, obviously. I would recommend playing the Baby Girl Toa Unison that lets you -4 and take your opponent's battle card. I'd rather you do that. Just use your Spark and negate, your Power Burst to negate an attack. You can still use Max Power Kamehameha. It's a good card, but I'm currently using Power of the People. I want the Floodgate negate ability. You did show me a card that looked interesting. Checking to see if it's in this deck. No, it's not in this image, but there was like a Shadow Dragon card. I was unaware that card even existed, so I do appreciate you showing me that card. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely would like to be, would like to use that. That's really good. Trunks Power Overseeing Time, yeah, good card. I see you have Smoke Dragon, so you definitely have access to that power, so that's good. This is probably a 50 card build. I see you have the Yellow Ape. I'm against that. You have Thwarting, the 8-drop. That's good. You have a good amount of Vegeta and Goku. Well, we have more Goku material than you have Vegeta. Your main Vegeta material is your super combos. Oh yeah, you do have a 6-drop Vegeta. That's a decent one. I think I used that one. I think that's the one I used. That's the one where you play and you ignore barrier and warp. Yeah, that's the Vegeta I use. So that's a good Vegeta. So mathematically you have 5 Vegetas from what I can see. I mean, for all of that, I mean, it's funny for me to say, I would recommend more super combos. I don't use them myself, but I would recommend it. I would take out the apes and put in more of the Vegeta super combo, so you have more Vegetas in the deck for your 8-drop thwarting, and then plus just the the fact that it's a super combo. I see that you split it up. You have Trunks and Vegeta super combo. I mean, you do what you want to do. I'm just pointing that out. I do prefer Oceanus over the Time Kai, card. So instead of her, Oceanus is what I would recommend. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see no Oceanus in this build, so I would recommend that because that's very useful. Plus, you're doing Smoke Dragons, so in the deck, so you might as well add something that helps you mill more. You have the potential of your opponent making the bad decision of attacking and milling themselves. So you want something that does synergize with your Smoke Dragon mill effect. I personally don't use Petrification, but hey, to each their own. I do approve of Bardock Unison. I do approve of the Trunks Power Overseeing Time because of the fact you could play it and grab a super combo, so that you can easily get them to 30k double strike really easy. So it's a good way of recycling your super combos. It's a good way of recycling anything. Obviously, you can grab stuff with it. Like, let's see what you can grab with it. Obviously, You can grab your thwarting with it, so that's always good. So that way, that could be a combo right there where you play your trunks to grab back your thwarting. And all you have to do is just get the Goku and Vegeta on the field or in the drop in order to play them for 4 and swing with Trunks first, obviously. That way your leader effect kicks in and then you can start swinging with thwarting. And you have some good cards. You know, you definitely want to have 30Ks and 20Ks. I see you got a good amount of 20s and 30s in here, so you're definitely doing the right thing with that. I see you got the 5-drop Trunks that could be played from a warp. That's not a bad tech card, obviously. If the 5-drop Demika is working for you, then it's working for you. But what's ironic is that you have thwarting, which is almost the same thing. But you know, to each their own. You know, however way you want to play. I don't know what that Shadow Dragon card does exactly, but I did like the other Shadow Dragon card you showed me. Definitely has some potential. You have the Boo. I'm used to that being used to mill, so I don't know why you want the exact reason you want to mill. I get maybe you want some materials in the drop, but I'd rather not be dropping things. But hey, to each their own. It depends what you're doing with it. You know, if it works, it works. I don't really use that Deborah. You know, I don't use the Kami Unifier. So these are just some of my thoughts. I don't know what that extra card that has the God Trunks on it does. I'm a little familiar with this King Vegeta. If he works for you, that's great. And from right in rest mode, he basically makes your opponent rip 2 cards from their hands when they attack your leader from right, so it's decent, you know what I mean? It kind of acts like a rebrand, so hey, if it works, I'm not against the idea, you know, ripping cards from your opponent's hand, as well as milling them, you know, that bit of control. You got the 4-drop Shadow Dragon, so I see there's some mill in here, so you definitely try to incorporate mill, but because you're trying to play competitively, so life is a factor, especially when time is a factor, and you know, you can lose in time, right? You can lose in time. Time can be called during your opponent's turn and you just took a hit and now you have less than your opponent, and that's not a good thing. So that's why you don't want to use too many cards that take your own life in order to play them. You rather just negate things by, you know, paying energy, block things, you know, with blockers. That's another thing. Don't see too many blockers in here. I see 1, but it's a high cost blocker. I mean, the fact that it seems like you don't have a problem milling, you might as well use the blocker that comes from the archetype, the Dr. Leche, like I do, because that's a reusable blocker. So for 2 energy, you'll have a 10k blocker that you can potentially use. We know that, yeah, no, she's not a blocker, but that's why Oceanus would be good, because Oceanus negates an attack and is a blocker, so she could potentially stop 2 attacks for 2 energy. So more reason to play Oceanus. Let's see. I guess that's mostly what I have when it comes to reviewing this list. When it comes to, like I was saying, Android 16. Yeah, let's go back out. Look at the rest of the message. So he was saying, okay, so these are some of the. So Android 16 is a big issue for him. The new cell is popular with the 8-drop, so what advice I have for that? Ironically for me, I'm more concerned about Perfect Force Cell, the 7-drop, the old school cell. I'm more concerned about that being played by the cell deck than the cell chain in the new structure deck, so not a big deal for me. And I did play against the deck, not this weekend, but last weekend, so I didn't see much problems with the chain. Like to me, it was lackluster. It was like, oh, okay, this is cute. You can, you know, You can, go from 1 drops all the way up to like, was it 4 drop, 8 drop? It's like, oh, that's cute, but not that big of a deal. The only issue with the 8 drop, because even my teammate, he was talking about ways to deal with the 8 drop. For me, it wasn't that much of a problem, but fair enough. If it is an issue, then thing is that it has the ability to protect itself from being removed from the battle area. So essentially, you have to try to get it off the board twice. If I'm right, it can die from battle, which is how I beat it, which is why it wasn't that much of a problem to me, because I had no problem just attacking and beating it up. But trying to get rid of it through a skill, yeah, it was difficult. So you definitely want to, let's see, what do we have in the deck? Let's see. Well, if you can play so to deal with it, a way you can deal with the 8 drop is if you could play something that's low cost that can warp it. There's a couple cards like that. I mean, there's a 4 drop Vegeta that the Black Massane Splintering Mind Vegeta. When you play that lets you warp a battle card. So you can use that to try to warp the 8 drop. Then he'll have to detach the materials. Then, but you obviously need to have at least 6 energy for this. Then play 2, right, to try to overwhelm the 6 drop Vegeta you have. And then that will warp, try to warp the 8 drop again. I don't know if he could do the effect more than once in a turn. If he can, then I guess he'll just be, getting rid of 2 more materials. But if he doesn't have enough material for it, because I think it's 2 materials each, and I think he only has 3 materials under it, I guess. So he might not be able to do it more than once. So if that's the case, because I don't have the card memorized in my head, I only just played against it once, then you might be able to get rid of it on the second warping effect. So there's that. So let's go back. So that's the kind of stuff, because you understand what it does. So when you know what it does, you can try to deal with it. But ultimately, as long as you can just keep it from attacking, right, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's on the field, because as long as it's not attacking, right, or at least it's not dealing you damage, you don't care. That's why I like the Ultimate Ice. That's what the name of the card, Ultimate Ice. This is what he was showing me. Why is it not opening up? So that's a decent card right there, Ultimate Ice. I'm like, didn't know this existed. Now I do, and knowing's half the battle. I gotta relook back at all the Shadow Dragon cards, because there's some really good stuff. I didn't know this was a thing. So it's limit 1. Your opponent places the top card of their deck into the drop area. That's good, extra mill, right? Definitely gotta want to incorporate some mill into Hatchhyack. That's always good. That's just good in general as a control method. It reduces the possibility of them getting good cards. Not necessarily just to mill them out as a win con, but at least just make it hard for them to get good cards, especially if they play 1 copy of certain cards. This is a good way of ruining their strategy, making it harder for them to get good cards. And then additionally, you may choose 2 black cards in your hand and discard them. If you do, your opponent can only attack with battle cards 1 more time for the turn. So that's decent. Obviously it works pretty good. You're already reducing your opponent to like 1 battle card swing a turn anyway with the leader, but if they manage to get any 8 drops or higher on the field, this can help you, reduce the ability of them attacking with those extra cards. And you notice this is active main and active battle, so that's obviously pretty nice. Mainly we'll obviously be using this as an active battle card, and it's just 2 energy, so definitely useful. For anything that has barrier, there's the demonic absorption card you could consider. That's something that I'm going to be playing around with, because if I have to ignore barrier and get rid of something, then I'd rather use that, because in your deck I do see Kami Global Unifier. I do see him in there. Not a bad card, obviously it's a decent card, but for all that, you're better off like having it as a side deck card. Maybe even the world side deck, and then main deck some 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 of the stuff I was mentioning, and then when you need these, slide them in. But I wouldn't recommend those cards as main deck cards. Let's see what else. You mentioned Trunks Vegeta. Okay, I played against that deck way too many times. Way too many times. I have way too much battle experience with the Trunks Vegeta deck. It's good, ain't great, but it's a good deck. There's a 3-drop Trunks that when you play something like a Unison or battle card, it puts in rest mode. That can be an issue. But usually I use my cards that get rid of. I use my Unisons that get rid of battle cards. The fact that but it has barrier, if I'm right? I think that was one of the things. I think that Trunks has barrier, but this is why you need barrier hate. So against the Trunks drone, the 3-drop Trunks, if I'm right, it's a blocker as well as it does the whole resting thing. You definitely want to get rid of that. That will get in your way. So you definitely want to get rid of it. So that's why, if I'm right, it has barrier. So that's why you need something that ignores barrier. So consider getting stuff that ignores barrier. Also consider using stuff that has barrier, so that way you can defend against certain decks that have abilities to target your battle cards. So you want to have some battle cards that have barrier. You definitely want to play more Unisons. I mean, I'm all about playing a whole bunch of Unisons, preferably Unisons that can get really strong really easily, like the Super Saiyan 4 Broly Prismatic Burst. Just for 2 energy, that's a 20k on your turn swinger, and then it has an auto that can boost your leader by 5k for every marker you remove. So it could also be a shield. It could be defensive. It could be used defensively. But the main thing is the fact that the more markers it has, the stronger it becomes on your turn. So if you pay 4 for it, it'll be a 30k Unison. So that's definitely useful. 30k is always good to swing at your opponent when they're on their awakened side, so you can apply pressure that way. Toa, of course, being a 20k body, applies pressure, but she also has the ability to warp 3 costs or less, so that can help you get rid of the 1-drop, especially against the Trunks Vegeta, because every time the leader swings, it brings back like the 1-drops, and it uses 1-drops to evolve. So you want to warp them. So you definitely want the Toa for that, because she can let you warp them warp the 1-drops every turn before they get to evolve them. So there's that when it comes to the Trunks Vegeta deck. Let's see. If they play their 8-drop, if I'm right, their 8-drop doesn't have barrier, so you should be able to steal it with the Toa. So more pros and more reason why you should consider playing Toa, even if you don't main decker, side decker at least. I don't mind suggestions if you're not interested in main decking them and changing the deck to incorporate them. At least consider them as side deck options. Let's see, U7, it depends. Gohan U7, Goku U7, gotta be a little bit more specific. But when it comes to U7, U7 in general, I mean, from my experience, I think I went up against a couple Goku U7 decks and a Gohan U7 deck, so they're pretty much playing a lot of the same stuff. Okay, so if we're talking about the Goku one specifically, where he keeps bursting, that's his main things. He keeps bursting. The irony is, because you have Smoke Dragon, you can mill him out. Because when I was playing against the guy, he kept bursting, and he was so low on cards. But I was playing my Zamasu deck. I wasn't playing Hatchhyack. But if I was playing Hatchhyack, I would have had at least my 4-drop, to help me mill my opponent. Because I don't have Smoke Dragon yet. But I do have the 4-drop Shenron Negative Energy Explosion, so I could have used that to try to mill my opponent in that scenario. So since you do have mill in your deck, the U7 matchup should be easier for you, so it shouldn't be a problem. should be easier, because if they're using the Goku leader that's bursting, then that's an advantage for you, because that's just helping you get closer to milling them out. Trunks Vegeta draws a lot. That's the thing. Like, my opponent always had like 30 plus cards in their hands when I was playing against Trunks Vegeta, so their deck tends to be low too, so you can take advantage of that with Smoke Dragon and some of your mill cards, right? So you could try to take advantage of that. So that'll probably be your game plan, is defense, mill. When it comes to Trunk Vegeta and the U7 Goku Burst leader strategy. Again, try not to take any damage, right, from attacks or even through your own effects, because you want to keep your life points high, because your opponent is, especially against U7, they do have a SCR, which is the Vegeta SCR, and that can burn, and you don't want them to take advantage of that. So keep that in mind. The new cooler, so I'm assuming that's the green cooler Unison build. Yes, Unison spam is a weakness, right? Unisons, can bypass your Hatchhyack leader's ability, so it is important to keep that in mind. Let's look at your deck. Damn it, why is it? There we go. When it comes to dealing with Unisons, obviously, being able to have blockers that stay on the field a little bit longer. I mean, still waiting for Bandai to stop being assholes and give me, black blockers, right? Unison blockers that are black and specify black energy, so that way they can't just be splashing any deck. They have to be black energy. That way we can use in Hatchhyack. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't want to give us Hatchhyack players, Unison blockers, especially Unison blockers that like get +2 markers or some shit like that. They would hate to give us that. I get it, but it sucks, because I want my Unison blockers for the deck. They gave us something that can turn a skillless battle card into a blocker, so you can try to go that route, but it's not ideal. I'd rather use something like Ice, Ultimate Ice Ray, any Floodgate Negate, Power of the People is good, because they just reduce the possibility of your opponent dealing you damage. The less damage you take, the better, obviously. But what were we talking about? Sorry. Cooler, yeah, Unisons. So dealing with Unisons is obviously the issue you would have with Cooler would be them using Unisons a lot against you. This is why it's a good idea to try to incorporate more Unisons into the deck that have certain effects that can help you. If there's can't think of off the top of my head that many Unisons, black Unisons you can use that can give you a slight advantage. Obviously Bardock is good because he has the Floodgate ability, his -2, and then he has the +1 draw ability, so that's always good. But to be able to deal with your opponent's Unisons, the fact that they can play multiple Unisons in a turn, because there are a lot of 1-drop Unisons, and they could potentially get those 1-drops to like 15k power, so they could apply pressure on your leader. You're going to need some type of way to be able to block those attacks more than once, or make it where your opponent just can't attack in general. And if I'm right, the card you showed, no, it only applies to battle cards, the 2-drop card you showed. But it's like you're going to have to probably I use a 4-star ball with Kid Goku engine, which you don't have in here, and I would use that to try to help me out combo most of the Unison swings. So you're going to have to try to out combo a lot of those attacks, and then against their Unisons. But against their battle cards, you're going to have to use like negates and blockers. So far that's what I got for that. Let's see. Definitely want to make sure that they're mainly attacking with their leader and Unisons. Obviously you don't want them to attack, but I'm just saying reduce them down to only leader and Unison swings, you don't want them to like be having a whole bunch of battle cards trying to swing at you as well. So keep their battle card number very low, and then defend against the unisons, right? Defend against the leader. Hopefully you don't have to use that much combo power in those situations. You definitely, that's why, yeah, okay, against the unisons, okay, since I mentioned it, I just realized it. Against the unisons, right, because your opponent's playing a lot of unisons in a single turn and swinging. If you're fortunate enough to get the ability, right, to get the effect off, power of the people, of course, negating an attack, and then get the effect to get a 5k boost. Granted, the boost comes in from battle card swinging, but hopefully they swung with a battle card, which will at least give you 5k for the duration of the turn, and then after that, your opponent's unison swings will be a lot less effective, because if the best they can do is get their unisons to 15k, but you're a 20k leader, then the likelihood of the chances of them hitting you are very slim. So that's a way you can deal with that. It's a numbers game. You always gotta remember that it's a numbers game. So you just gotta think. You gotta always think what your opponent can do and what they're capable of doing, and then just see what you can do at the most basic level to deal with that. Just like I said, just even being able to just give yourself a 5k boost until end of turn on your leader will help you against something as simple as a whole bunch of one-drop unison swinging at you in one turn. Let's see. Oceanus, right? Yeah, Oceanus, right? If they're gonna swing with a whole bunch of unisons in a single turn, might as well drop Oceanus, right? So like I said, I recommended Oceanus earlier. Use Oceanus, and if they want to take the challenge and mill a whole bunch of cards to attack with a whole bunch of unisons, good for you, right? So I think that's that's something to work on, right? That's the best I can give you right now. Give you something to think about, and hopefully this inspires some ideas, some possibilities of things you can do. And that's the end of the video.